Frank Shamrock, Igor Zinoviev, Kevin Jackson, Jerry Bohlander, Kimo. The greatest full contact mixed martial arts event in the world. It's live from New Orleans, Louisiana. The UFC Middleweight Championship is on the line, plus 2 super fights and the toughest tournament in sports as the Ultimate Fighting Championship presents Battle in the Bayou.
Here we are inside the Pontchartrain Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, returning to the United States after a highly successful global adventure in Yokohama, Japan. It is the ultimate in fighting, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Goldberg. I'm happy to be with you tonight with my partner, the Olympic gold medalist Jeff Blatnick. Not 1, but 2 super fights, a lightweight tournament for the first time, and yes, the defense of the middleweight championship by Frank Shamrock.
Well, that's the headliner. Frank Shamrock versus Igor Zinoviev. Perhaps one of the best submission athletes in the world, submission fighters, taking on probably one of the best survivors in the world in Igor Zinoviev. He's improved his skills in terms of striking, that is Frank Shamrock, and he wants to avoid that heavy right hand of Igor Zinoviev. Great matchup.
Well, we have said that Igor Zinoviev is truly a warrior. He comes from a Russian military background, and Shamrock really feels like he is going to have to push it to the limit if he does have the advantage to get Zinoviev to tap out tonight.
Without a doubt, he feels Zinoviev is such a survivor, he may not want to tap out even if he's put into a submission lock. And again, he's enticed with that alliance with Maurice Smith to really incorporate striking. He's talking about the knockout punch. He may even stand on his feet and trade blows with Zinoviev. So this really has the makings of an all-out war. Great excitement building for this one. Really, there's no real clear-cut superior athlete in that fight.
You know, Jeff, and we've said it before even tonight, that you have truly arrived when you are known only by one name. And UFC fans know this man by only one name. It is Kimo.
Kimo is a superb athlete. He is big. He's weighing in about 250 pounds right now, and he is ripped. From his debut in the octagon to now, he has done nothing but improve. He's fought outside of the UFC and done well. He now makes his return against another tough competitor, Tsuyoshi Kohsana. Kohsana, a submission expert. He doesn't mind being on his back with a bigger man trying to pound him. He is an expert at locking up a joint and forcing his opponent to submit. Kimo has lost by knee bar to Ken Shamrock. Kohsana knows that. I'm sure he's been practicing.
You know, it's interesting, Jeff. In Japan, Frank Shamrock made the next step. And I think tonight, at least in Lions Den perspective, Jerry Bohlander is taking the next step. He's the leader of the Lions Den now. And Kevin Jackson, his talents are well documented.
Well, both of these fighters have a loss the last time they stepped in the octagon. Bohlander to Gary Goodrich, and certainly Kevin Jackson to Frank Shamrock in Ultimate Japan. Both have something to prove. Both are quality fighters. Jackson, better at now its submission recognition. He needs to continue to improve those skills. Bohlander has improved his all-around game. He is young, he is maturing, he is continuing to get better. This one really positions the winner for moving on to a challenge for the middleweight title.
Well, you have to win to move on for a challenge in our first ever lightweight tournament, 169.9 pounds and below of pure steel and raw guts.
Well, Burnett, Tadeu, Miletich, and Saunders, you're talking about great people in terms of skills on the mat in submission. Burnett, a power lifter. Saunders, a silver medalist in the Olympics in 1996. And Miletich, a combination submission artist. Learned striking, but he also has a wrestling past. From top to bottom, perhaps the most competitive card in the UFC.
Mikey Burnett said that. He said this is going to be outstanding, and he looks forward to competing. A special night where Tank Abbott will join us. We'll also check in with Mark the Hammer Coleman and check in with our third man on the crew, none other than Joe Rogan.
Guys, I am backstage, and this is a hell of a card. Everybody's pumped, and I think a lot of this has to do with the new matchmaker, John Peretti, putting the lightweight tournament in. We got Tadeu here from Brazil, and he's going to be fighting Mikey Burnett. Now, all the Lions Den guys are always supportive of their fighters, but what they're saying about Burnett is that this guy is just phenomenal. You have to watch him. We got Townsend Saunders. We got Pat Miletich, who's also a veteran, against Townsend Saunders, who's an Olympic wrestler. I mean, this is just an unbelievable card, along with Kimo, along with Kevin Jackson, fighting Jerry Bohlander, and then Frank Shamrock fighting Igor Zinoviev. This is like the most unbelievable card we've had in a long time. This is going to be, I think, one of the best UFCs ever, and everybody backstage is pumped. This place is buzzing, and I think it's going to be a hell of a show. Back to you guys.
What great anticipation in the house tonight. Don't forget the ways to win in our tournament: by knockout, by submission, which is tapping the hand on the mat, if a referee stops the contest because a fighter cannot intelligently defend himself. It may be at the advice of a ringside physician if the corner throws in the towel, by disqualification, and if time expires, 3 judges will render a decision. We're getting set for our first ever lightweight tournament, and Mikey Burnett from the Lions Den said to us earlier tonight that this will be the best lightweight tournament in mixed martial arts competition ever. He'll take on Tadeu, and then Pat Miletich will take on the Olympic silver medalist Townsend Saunders. Mikey Burnett, 24 years old, says that he is a wrestler at heart. And Eugenio Tadeu from Rio de Janeiro, a little jiu-jitsu with a little Muay Thai, a freestyle fighter. As it is now known, luta livre means free fighting in Portuguese. A little bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu with more emphasis on striking for Eugenio Tadeu, who will take on Mikey Burnett, the submission fighting specialist. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, still lives there but fights out of the Lions Den in Rockford, California. Mikey Burnett, all 5'6", 170 pounds of him.
Burnett is incredibly strong. 600-pound, claims to have a 600-pound deadlift, 600-pound squat, and a 400-pound bench press, and you're talking about a lightweight fighter under 170 pounds. That's incredible power.
In 1994, with those numbers, Jeff, he was the #1 ranked power lifter, and you see the strong physique of Mike Burnett. He says he doesn't mind being called Mikey. He's one of the younger children in the family, so it's always been Mikey.
Well, what's interesting is everyone from the Lions Den, Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, Jerry Bohlander, rave about Mike Burnett. And that says something strong. That says that this is a quality fighter. And at the Lions Den, he's fighting big people all the time. So for him, this must be, a chance to prove himself against people his own size.
Here comes his opponent tonight, Eugenio Tadeu, making his first U.S. appearance. He is recognized as the #1 lightweight in his class. He is a legend in his home country of Brazil. 33 years old, with great Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, but more emphasis on striking. He's the 1983 Brazilian champion of Vale Tudo.
Is this what you're going to wear?
Luta Livre and Vale Tudo, this is his specialty. And what really put him on the board recently was a fight against Renzo Gracie in Brazil, in which Renzo had a few different opportunities to really submit him, and Tadeu was able to get away. And then, of course, the fight ended prior to a decision being rendered. There was no decision in that fight because of a riot. He's very experienced, tremendous grappler, but he prefers to strike. And this is his first appearance in the octagon, but don't be fooled by that. He's well versed in this type of fighting.
Well, he'll have the acclaimed Brazilian heavyweight Hugo Duarte in his corner, and it is said that Eugenio Tadeu has a style similar to Marco Ruas. He's much older than his opponent Mikey Burnett, but the size is very similar, Jeff. Just 10 pounds difference in the weight classes and a couple inches in height, so no reach advantage as we had. They're both short, they're both powerful, and this should start our toughest lightweight tournament ever. For more on it, let's check in with the voice of the Octagon, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now begin our lightweight elimination tournament. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He is a submission fighter and former freestyle wrestling state champion. He is also a Greco-Roman national champion. He hails from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and is fighting out of the Lions Den in Rockford, California. Standing 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing in at 170 pounds, please welcome Mike Burnett. And the fighter standing to my right, he is the #1 ranked Luta Livre fighter in Brazil and a former Brazilian Vale Tudo champion. Making his first appearance in the United States, he stands 5 feet 8 inches tall and weighs in at 160 pounds. Coming all the way from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, please welcome Eugenio Tadeu. And when the action begins, our referee for the evening is Big John McCarthy.
Oh, yes. And working this fight still will be Joe Hamilton. Big John will be a big part of our matchups tonight. Mikey Burnett, Eugenio Tadeu. Tadeu fights with reckless abandon. Mikey Burnett did admit he's got nerves a little, but he's more confident since fighting out of the Lion's Den. Hamilton backs him up, and we're getting set to get it started. Here's Joe Hamilton.
Here we go.
The lightweight tournament is underway.
Tadeu says he doesn't lead with a single foot. He goes either way, but he's definitely leading with his left foot here. His right hand's probably his power hand. He says he's got power with both.
Burnett said we both fight a lot alike. We're both grapplers. And to the ground it goes.
And Tadeu did a great job going under the punch. But Burnett was able to get out, immediately get back to his feet. And slugging. The speed of these guys is so much different than the big guys.
Tadeu, a very experienced fighter. He's fought 2 Gracies in his career. The aforementioned battle that Jeff talked about with Renzo Gracie. He also fought against Royler Gracie in a private challenge.
Which ended in a draw, by the way.
Tonight it's Mikey Burnett.
Tough competition, and boy, I'll tell you, they're sitting there trading. They are trading. Tadeu even adding a few kicks.
Time limit on our lightweight tournament, 12 minutes. No overtime. Here we go. Still delivering.
Tadeu got hit there again. Burnett doing a nice job throwing heavy leather.
And they continue to battle. That is 12 minutes and a 3-minute overtime. Pardon me, alternates. We're at 12-minute no overtime. The lightweight tournament, 12 minutes and a 3-minute overtime.
And Burnett really has that guillotine sunk. He's got it sunk. He's got it in a good position here if he can continue to arch his back. But Tadeu, no stranger to this position. He looks like he wiggled out. Nice job by Tadeu.
And Tadeu, as we mentioned, the luta libre, has a strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, so he's comfortable in the guard.
Yes, he is. Burnett spent probably a lot of energy trying to finish with that guillotine choke. He might sit here for a little bit and regather himself before launching offense. Tadeu looking to his corner, listening to the advice. This is now the ground game. Tadeu with the guard on Burnett.
The octagon, the ultimate finishing school, the ultimate proving ground for the ultimate in combat. 750 square feet, 32 feet across, 5 foot 6 inches of padded walls on top of a chain link fence. And now we have gone down to the ground, a familiar spot, as you mentioned, for both competitors.
Both are very familiar with the guard. It seems as though Burnett is taking his time. He's not rushing anything. And that's a key when going against a very experienced fighter who understands guard. And I really do think that he put a lot of energy into that guillotine choke. I mean, he was really arched out, trying to put Tadeu away early. I think he might have slowed it down a little bit, catch his breath, make sure he doesn't rush things, and then approach it methodically.
You know, we have been able, Jeff, in the last couple of days to visit with 2 luta libre fighters, and when they simplify things, they have said it's really a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background with more emphasis on striking. What do they mean?
They moved more towards the Vale Tudo. Traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu is with a gi. The lucha libre is without the gi, and they gravitate more towards learning other skills besides just the submission, the mount and the guard. They move on to go ahead and incorporate strikes and such. Much more liberal, I guess, with the skills. So that is the path that Tadeu has followed. And you saw him early. He wasn't at all bothered to trade with Burnett. And Burnett said he'll stay on his feet until he feels he's in trouble. And that's why he stayed up there punching. He seemed to start to get the better of Tadeu there in a number of those flurries.
So would you agree that Tadeu has good confidence still in submission skills?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm sure he's sitting here waiting, but I'm sure Burnett also understands guard and that he is not going to make the most common mistake by wrestlers. He's more of a submission wrestler. And again, he trains, you know, out of the Lion's Den, so he's had big people come after him. He's worked with Shamrocks, and he's worked with Jerry Bohlander as well.
Jerry Bohlander will fight here this evening, and Bohlander has been working a lot with Mikey Burnett. The Lion's Den is very high on the skills of Mikey Burnett, who just became a father 5 weeks ago with his first child. I asked him if his young son Matthew was going to be a fighter. He said, I hope not.
Now he's working on Tadeu's ribs here with some big punches. And that guillotine choke, really what saved Tadeu. He was able to slip an arm through it. With the arm in there, it disrupts the full pressure going directly to the neck.
Keep working.
Burnett said when he first came to the Lion's Den, he was all muscle. He was a ground and pound guy, and he's added a lot of technique.
Well, we saw Tadeu there using the heel kick to the back of Burnett. That's illegal. There is no kicking on the ground. You heard Joe Hamilton saying, no. Tadeu will be penalized if he does it again.
Tadeu speaks no English and came in with an interpreter and some of his crew yesterday, and they were quick to point out that he has a style similar to Marco Rujas, who is very fierce and a fearsome competitor here in the octagon.
And he has proven he can go long distances, but he trains to fit the fight. And for this one, and for this fight, he knows it's going to go 12 at the 3-minute overtime, might be 15, and he wants to blow all that energy out in that amount of time. So he trains to go the distance. Burnett, first time we really had a chance to see him, we don't know how long he can go and whether or not, you know, he can perform late in the fight. But coming out of the Lion's Den, I have a feeling he does. We're at the halfway point, Mike.
We are at the halfway point. 6.5 minutes in, a 12-minute time limit with a 3-minute overtime. When does conditioning become a factor?
It does after every major flurry, when they go out of a controlled pace to one of a flurry pace, and that's more anaerobic. To get a few of those together, you can get winded, and it's harder for your body to catch up. So those are the kinds of things you're looking for. If you can get him to flurry, he's not successful, he gets frustrated, that's a great time to launch an attack.
Burnett still trying to work.
And he is active. Burnett is active, but he just can't pass Tadeu's guard.
Stay busy. Good effort, gentlemen, good effort.
You can hear the referee, Joe Hamilton, again, stay busy. If we get to a neutral point where no one has an advantage, they will stand them back up, the fighters. But Joe has not seen that point come so far, 7.5 minutes in.
Well, Burnett is staying very active on top. He's throwing punches. He's not just laying on his opponent, and Tadeu isn't tying him up to keep Burnett from throwing those punches, so Hamilton will let it go.
Stay busy, you gotta keep busy.
The great Hugo Duarte, another fine Brazilian fighter in the corner of Tadeu.
Ken Shamrock recently came in to the Lion's Den in Lockford, California from his new career and put some leather to the guys. Mike Burnett and Jerry Bohlander, and there's the pause. And both fighters are brought back up to their feet. Tadeu's corner again with Hugo Duarte in it.
Hamilton trying to get Tadeu's attention. They're going to restart him on the feet. Not enough action for Joe Hamilton, so he wanted to restart him.
Burnett didn't mind to throw punches. You mentioned that earlier, Jeff.
Oh,
and he delivers a big right. Now an uppercut.
Oh.
Burnett delivering some drive.
Tadeu's getting hit good.
Tadeu's in trouble.
The strength of Burnett they're showing, walking through some of Tadeu's punches and hitting him with some big bombs. Tadeu seems a little clumsy, a little fatigued.
8 minutes and 45 seconds in.
Stay busy.
Just over 3 minutes remaining. And Tadeu just took a flurry from Mikey Burnett.
And physically, they both spent a lot of energy flurrying. And now you see the result. They got to take a little bit of a break. They're trying to survive. They're trying to catch their wind and not just fight out of frustration and desperation, but out of control and logic. Tadeu, you can see him. He's having trouble even breathing.
That's not resting
Saliva
if you're
coming
using
out
it.
of his
That's not
mouth
resting
as
if
he's
you're
trying
using
to
the leg.
breathe. He is really
Stay
breathing
busy.
heavy.
Good effort, gentlemen. Good effort,
When they
gentlemen.
were on the ground, Mikey Burnett also had a lot of rabbit punches to the ribs of Eugenio Tadeu.
Let's go, let's go. Good effort, gentlemen. Good effort.
Both of these guys have spent some energy. They're giving this audience something to get on their feet. Oh, a big uppercut.
Now Burnett trying to finish off Tadeu. And it's over. Mikey Burnett.
What a fight.
They spent a good amount of time going toe-to-toe. And you saw the great strength of Mikey Burnett.
You're beautiful. Burnett was able to walk through some of Tadeu's punches at the end and connect with some bombs that eventually set up that very last flurry, which Burnett hit him again. Hamilton knew he was in trouble, stopped the fight. That was a good call. Both these fighters are exhausted. They put out so much energy. The pace was very, very fast the whole time. Really, the only break they took was in that flurry where they went to the fence, they kind of gathered, and then that set up the final flurry and the victory for Burnett.
Dr. Richard Istrico, the chief physician of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and quickly to take a look at Eugenio Tadeu, as fighter safety is the ultimate of importance here in the UFC. For the official announcement, let's go into the octagon to the voice, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has stopped the fight with the winner, Mike Burnett. Let's have a big hand for Billy Game challenger.
Another Lion's Den fighter, Mike.
Here's early on in the matchup that lasted 9 minutes and 44 seconds.
They came out and they just both traded bombs. Well, this is more of a grappling sequence we're looking at here. Nice knee by Tadeu. Right back at you by Burnett, and then they opened up. Big bomb by Burnett, and immediately Tadeu went under, but Burnett able to sprawl very well. Good wrestling technique to keep him off the double. And then again, they're on their feet, and nice right hand followed by a massive left hook. And the last sequence near the end of the fight, that big uppercut, and you can see Tadeu right there was stunned. Joe Hamilton moved right in and watched closely. Watching Tadeu here, he caught another uppercut. Joe Hamilton stopped the fight. Mike Burnett, an impressive debut here in the octagon.
Unfortunately, his Lion's Den fighter, Mikey Burnett, will not be able to continue in the lightweight tournament. So Chris Brennan, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter out of Mission Viejo, California, who fought in an alternate matchup prior to our on-air time this evening, will advance and fight in the lightweight tournament later on this evening. So Mikey Burnett, a great job done in 9:44, but he will not be able to continue and fight the winner of our second matchup here in the lightweight tournament. That matchup pits the 1996 Midwest Muay Thai champion Pat Miletich against the 1996 Olympic silver medalist at 149.5 pounds, the freestyle wrestler Townsend Saunders. Miletich said he is more confident than ever.
After having 20 no-holds-barred matches, I feel that with my experience, I've been in a lot of tough situations in the cage, and that should come through for me in the end, I believe.
Yeah, definitely the most experienced lightweight fighter, Pat Miletich, who just turned 30 years old. He wanted us to list him tonight, his 29, but I'll tell you what, this guy, born in Davenport, Iowa, who lives now 40 miles from the University of Iowa in Bettendorf, is someone who should not be ashamed of his age. Part of the Iowa connection with one of the fighters tonight, Laverne Clark. He has sparred with pro boxers,
and he feels at home in the cage.
Miletich trained a lot of wrestling, so he understands takedowns. He's also familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he understands submissions, and he's Muay Thai, so he understands strikes. He's a complete package. He's got lots of experience in there. He's a tough customer. He's going to be tough to beat.
And also making his UFC debut, his opponent tonight is Townsend Saunders, who is exactly the same age. At 30 years old, he now lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and has trained with the likes of Kevin Jackson. Townsend Saunders tonight set to take on that man, Pat Miletich. Here's Miletich's discipline description.
Strong striker, that Muay Thai background, good overall submission. He'll hit it from anywhere, mount or guard, and of course all that experience. 20 fights in there. Certainly the most experience of all these lightweights in terms of mixed martial arts competition.
Saunders with great wrestling skills. The 1990 Arizona State grad set to enter the octagon.
Well, I'm going to protect myself, hold my guard up, and I don't plan on going toe-to-toe with somebody who's a real good striker. It's not my strength, so I plan on enforcing my strengths on them, making them wrestle me, and then I'll try submission holds on them, striking them just to open them up. But I don't plan on getting hit. That's one of my goals, not to get hit, not get hurt.
They've got like 3 extra large.
Well, as far as submissions are concerned, Townsend Saunders said, I'm not worried. I think submissions are strong skills for me. Wrestlers generally know more submissions than they get credit for. It's the striking and the stand-up part I feel is less developed in my repertoire. But Townsend Saunders is one of the finest freestyle wrestlers in the world.
Well, without a doubt, he can control where the fight takes place. If he wants to stay on his feet, it's going to be awful hard for Miletich to be able to take him down. World-class grappler, takedown specialist because of his freestyle background. This is his first UFC appearance, first time in the octagon, but he did, in contenders, beat Andre Pedneris, and Pedneris, very good submission fighter, was unable to put Saunders away. Saunders a bit defensive in that, first time facing an experienced submission guy, but he was able to eke out a judge's decision.
Miletich is 5 inches taller in the lightweight tournament, 170 pounds and under. Means you are qualified as Pat Miletich is set to take on Townsend Saunders to advance in our first ever lightweight tournament. Let's enter the octagon and check in with the voice, Bruce Buffer.
Our next lightweight tournament bout begins with the fighter standing to my left. He is a Muay Thai boxer and Jiu-Jitsu expert with a mixed martial arts record of 18-1-1. He is a former Midwest Muay Thai champion, standing 5 feet, 10 inches tall, and weighing in at 170 pounds. He comes to us from Bettendorf, Iowa. Please welcome Pat Miletich. And his opponent, standing to my right, he is a freestyle wrestler, a 2-time national champion, a 2-time Pan Am Games gold medalist, a former Goodwill Games gold medalist, and the 1996 Olympic silver medalist. He stands 5 feet, 5 inches tall, and weighs in at 170 pounds. Fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, please welcome Townsend Saunders.
One of the questions, has Townsend Saunders ever really been punched? Pat Miletich talked about that in the pre-show interviews as our alternate referee, Joe Hamilton, is getting set to get it started.
You ready?
Here we go, lightweight tournament, matchup number 2.
Interesting to note, Miletich was actually cutting weight yesterday to make the weight class. So he's big for this weight class. Saunders weighed in also at 170, but you can see that Miletich looks a little bit bigger. Saunders wrestles at 152 pounds. Won his medal at 149. The weight classes have changed.
18-1-1 in mixed martial arts for Pat Miletich. Feels very comfortable in any type of atmosphere like this as he makes his UFC debut.
Watch for knees here. Very possible that Saunders has not trained these, fires one in there himself. And also, Saunders is wearing wrestling shoes. Submission experts say that the shoes are easier to grab and force ankle locks, leg submissions. See if Miletich takes advantage of that. But I'll tell you, Boss Rutan trained with Saunders for a week prior to this fight. Saunders is seeking out submission experts to try to improve his skills.
Now, Miletich feels very comfortable with his boxing skills. He was quickly to point out Muay Thai, wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are part of his arsenal.
And it looks as though Saunders is the one moving forward a little bit. Little kick by Townsend Saunders there. Miletich with some quick jabs.
Miletich is well aware of Townsend Saunders' excellent strength.
Saunders' body is put together very well, very powerful. And in wrestling, he is what we call a spurt wrestler. Goes in flurries, doesn't do it all at once. On the ground, Miletich puts Saunders in his guard.
Miletich has won more than half of his mixed martial arts competitions by submission.
When the legs get up near Saunders' shoulders, look for Miletich to be looking for some form of submission, whether triangle or armbar. Looks as though Saunders wants to bring it back to his feet.
Well, Miletich said he really wants to try to be aggressive throughout the fight also.
Something else is Saunders has got to watch out for those heels right there. Not get caught by one of those heels coming up if he decides to dive back in on the body.
As Saunders extends the arms to try to deliver some blows, you always think about submission, don't you, partner?
Absolutely. You just keep that arm out there and it's already extended. You make it easy for the bottom man to go ahead and apply a submission to it. Against Pedneris and the contenders, Saunders actually stayed with his elbow in the stomach the whole time, almost overcautious of the submission holds. But part of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to let the top man go crazy. Fine, blow energy, keep blowing energy. Bottom man's basically resting and waiting for his opportunity.
Now, Miletich gets to fight and wrestle a lot of fine competitors at the University of Iowa, known for their great tradition nationally in collegiate wrestling, and he'll go down to the University of Iowa and train a lot with the wrestlers there, so his ground skills are very, very good.
One of those people he works with is Royce Alger. We saw him here in the UFC. He did lose, but he has won in other events since then and continues to improve his mixed martial arts competition and skills. And I'm sure Saunders has learned a lesson from watching other wrestlers lose to armbar.
Now they've moved up towards the fencing in the octagon. 12 minutes, 1 3-minute overtime here in our lightweight tournament matchup number 2.
Oh.
Spin by Miletich.
Miletich got to stand up, and then he did that forward roll looking for Saunders' legs. But Saunders able to clear them before he was able to grab on and try some form of submission.
Two-time Battle of the Masters champion, won numerous super bouts in Extreme Challenge, did Pat Miletich. Got a tough competitor in Townsend Saunders, but Miletich really was excited about this tournament because it is to his advantage to finally fight in his weight class.
Oh my gosh, he's got him in a hold. Saunders' arm is trapped past his shoulder and he can't bring it back. This might be an opportunity for him to choke, but Saunders able to gut it out. Tremendously powerful through the shoulders and arms.
Watch that right, Townsend. Watch the right. He's setting you up. Now he's setting you up.
You can hear his corner talking about watch the right. Townsend, he's setting you up. He's setting you up.
On the bottom, when you move to your side and put the guard on from your side, it's a much more active position. Flat on your back, you're going to be there. It's more predictable. When you go to the side, you get some motion going. Maybe take advantage of that. Saunders needs to be careful there.
Oh, the delivered shot to the head of Townsend Saunders.
And he's going for his own heel lock. Saunders has decided to go for some form of an ankle or heel lock, but countered out.
And right back into the guard. Miletich was working on an arm, then Saunders tried to work on a leg.
Really, Saunders put his arm in trouble by moving down to the leg. But once he was able to free his arm, he tried to attack the ankle. Miletich able to counter it out. Saunders took risk in that top position right there.
Kevin Jackson has said in the past, you always have to measure your risk with the potential amount of reward.
And that's spoken like a wrestler trying to learn submission. And that's exactly the challenge that all wrestlers face, is recognition of vulnerability to submission, and of course learning how to use submission.
Past the midway point, we saw the exhaustion, one of the factors that has forced Mikey Burnett out of the tournament.
Now Miletich is playing this out the way a jiu-jitsu stylist would, picking his points to launch attacks, but mainly letting the top man carry the action, and he try to work as little as possible on the bottom so that fatigue sets in on the top man.
Now Miletich has wrestled since 2nd grade, so he feels very confident he can hold his own with the freestyle wrestling expert skills of Townsend Saunders. Saunders is a powerful man. You can see it in the leg strength and the arm strength.
He needs to be careful. Miletich is reaching for that ankle. And again, Saunders is going down, looking for heel hook.
Stay busy now.
And Miletich able to bump himself forward. That destroys the distance that Saunders was working with in the grip. It changes the position, and he's able to move out of it, free himself from that hold. That's now twice, and he's telegraphing it. He's moving so slow down the leg, he's letting Miletich know he's going to attack that ankle. If he can do it a little more sneaky, he might have a chance at locking it up.
Now Saunders has really been unable to pass the guard or pat Miletich and try any type of mount.
He hasn't really tried to pass the guard. He's been trying to fight from within the guard, keep it controlled so he knows where he is at all times. And the one thing he showed against Paneras and Contenders was that he was after some form of ankle or leg submission. He's doing it again here. That seems to be his submission of choice.
Let's go. See some progress.
Saunders trying to work the ribs now of Pat Miletich, both 30 years old. We were excited about our lightweight tournament. We had a great matchup, number one, with Mikey Burnett victorious, and now our great matchup here. Miletich was looking for the mount.
Good effort, gentlemen.
He basically had his heels hooked on the inside of Saunders' hips. He exploded forward, able to come out. And when he came up on top now, he's got a full mount. Full mount on Saunders.
He had the half at first.
Good effort, gentlemen. Stay busy.
And now Miletich in a different position.
Outstanding effort,
Under
gentlemen.
3 minutes remaining in our regulation time limit of 12 minutes.
Let's go. Stay active, Pat. You earned it. Stay active.
I'm sure this is a very uncomfortable position for Saunders. He's on his back. He's still a current wrestler. This is the last place you want to be. But this is a fighting game now. Key lock. And Saunders muscles his way out of it.
Wow. What great strength once again demonstrated by Townsend Saunders.
Miletich had a great chance there at a key lock, and he was unable to get it.
Stay busy now, gentlemen. Working hard, outstanding
Saunders
job.
trying to work that right forearm into the neck. Now the left forearm into the neck area of Pat Miletich.
Watch the thumbs, don't use them.
Oh, a delivered blow.
Good effort.
Those short rabbit punches. They're like bringing down a big tree,
Good
though.
effort.
You got to throw a lot
Good job.
of them.
Stay busy. Let's make some progress.
That left hand got in clean. That left hand got in clean.
Saunders more effective here, working in Miletich's guard. And now it moves right to the fencing of the octagon.
Saunders wants this because now he's got the fence to use leverage up against. Miletich just can't slide away anymore. Saunders went for that leg lock last time, and it was Miletich used the advantage as Saunders leaned back to go ahead and to attack the ankle.
Good effort,
He
both
sat
fighters.
right
Good job.
up,
Now stay
able
busy.
to go ahead and
Let's make
change,
some progress. Let's go
reverse
now.
Saunders and get on top, eventually getting to a full mount. See if Saunders continues to take risks and perhaps give Miletich another chance.
Just over a minute left.
Good effort.
And then
Good
we
effort.
would have a 3-minute overtime.
Saunders now is becoming
Good job now.
much more in favor of going after strikes now, more of a ground and pound attack.
Now Saunders tried to deliver a left and got caught on the fencing. He's got to stay compact with his strikes.
And Miletich there is trying to use his legs to elevate her. In other words, lift Saunders' hips up, scoot to the side, and then try to either one escape or two, bring him all the way around and reverse him.
Could we have ever imagined our lightweight tournament would have 2 matches for the first time ever so spectacular and so evenly contested?
Stay busy.
Well, that was a big punch by Saunders and missed.
You see the clock in the
Supreme
left-hand
effort,
corner of your
Supreme
screen.
effort. Good job.
Miletich doing a great
Make some
job with the
progress. Both
guard.
fighters, good job.
Tremendous
Stay busy
job
now.
of defense.
The 12 minutes of regulation time has come to an end.
Go to your corner. Let's go. Go to your corner. Let's go. Let's go.
Townsend
Get ready,
Saunders,
get ready,
the
get
Olympic
ready.
silver medalist,
They get 1 minute.
trains with Kevin Jackson.
Stay where you're at. Get yourself ready.
Saunders on top
Ready. You got 1
in
minute.
Miletich's guard. He's going to go ahead. He's going to go ahead and try to attack this near leg of Miletich. And what he does now as we roll the film is he's going to sit back to go ahead and try to attack it. And actually, Miletich did a nice job of hooking Saunders' ankle. And right here, you're going to go ahead and see Miletich on top. Saunders has him in a half a guard. He's then going to snake this leg through right here and bring it out. Go ahead and go to the full mount. Once he does that, he is in what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists call the most dominant position. And right there, you see him move the leg and achieve full mount.
We are ready to start the 3-minute overtime. Saunders and Miletich. Oh! A kick to the left leg.
Close fight. This overtime will probably determine the winner.
It will be rendered by a judge's decision.
Good job, gentlemen.
If
Good
there
job.
is not a final decision made here in the next 2.5 minutes. 2 men, combatants, making their UFC debuts.
As Saunders doesn't want to lay out like a wrestler to defend that, he leaves his chest open to those knees. Miletich using his size now to drive Saunders into the fence.
Well, they talk about this being the ultimate test of skill and will, style and guile, and what will by both of these competitors.
Miletich hanging on to the fence now, trying not to let Saunders out.
We know conditioning a factor at this point matchup.
Saunders trying an inside trip, a wrestling technique to knock Miletich down. Too much distance, he couldn't get the leg hooked for the trip.
Stay busy, gentlemen. Good effort, supreme effort.
Townsend Saunders, quite inexperienced at the mixed martial arts game against a very experienced Pat Miletich.
Stay busy.
And
now.
his
Stay
strength
busy.
has truly been a factor.
And this is where Miletich's experience will show itself, is late in the fight when both fighters are fatigued and the fight's on the
Let's
line.
make some progress now. Let's make some progress.
Under a minute and a half remaining in the 3-minute overtime.
In fact, Miletich looking up and talking to Vitor Belfort about what to do. As Saunders pinned up, but he's not really able to improve his position, nor does he seem to really want to try from
Stay
there.
busy now.
Brazilian
Good effort,
Jiu-Jitsu
gentlemen. Good effort.
guys wherever they train stay together. 1 minute remaining in overtime.
Miletich trying to lift up Saunders by his trunks and nearly did it, but
Stay busy. Stay
unable
busy.
to hang
Don't use
on.
the fence to rest. Don't use the fence to rest, man.
Miletich trying
You're
to
doing good. Stay busy.
use the fence with his fingers, and Hamilton says you can't do it.
Stay
Can't
busy
use the
now.
fence to rest. amazing thing, looking ahead after the judge's decision, one of these two guys is going to have to fight again.
Saunders is throwing himself. See if Saunders can get some offense in here.
Let's go, less than a minute.
20 seconds remains.
Let's go, take it to the streets now. Let's go now.
Saunders delivering some blows. Saunders attacking Miletich. With the left now. 5 seconds remains.
This has been a very close fight. This is going to be very difficult to decide who the winner is. It's going to be interesting to see the judges' reaction to it. Saunders with the takedowns. Both each had a reversal, so that neutralizes each other out. It'll be interesting to see how the judges rate the striking and aggressiveness.
Remember our criteria. Aggressiveness, striking, and grappling.
Okay.
Our judges, Michael Di Pasquale,
We're going to have a judge's
Tony
decision for
Molyneux,
3 judges.
and
I'll
Jeff
call you to the middle,
Mullen
we'll raise a hand, okay?
for
Go ahead,
this
rest in your corner.
lightweight
Talk to your
matchup
Good
number
job,
2
Townsend.
for an opportunity to advance to the finals of the lightweight tournament against the alternate Chris Brennan.
In overtime now, they have an opportunity here near the end of the fight. Miletich chooses to kick. Saunders takes the leg, gets him down on the ground, and then unloads a flurry towards his head. This is good for Townsend Saunders. That's the last thing the judges see before the end of the fight. Question is, how will the judges interpret the rules, and how will the judges interpret the action that they saw? Very good fight by both athletes. Certainly Saunders, with less experience, did well against the more experienced Miletich.
Aggressiveness, striking, and grappling. The judges have rendered a decision. Here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the judges' cards. The judges have rendered the decision as follows. Judge Jeff Mullen has it, Miletich. Judge Michael Di Pasquale has it, Townsend Saunders. And Judge Tony Molyneux has it for the winner, Pat Miletich.
So the judges render a split decision, and it goes the way of Pat Miletich, who really went to battle for 15 minutes with a strong competitor in Townsend Saunders. Kevin Jackson will take on Jerry Bohlander in our middleweight super fight. Bohlander very confident when we talked to him earlier tonight here in New Orleans.
Kevin Jackson's tough. He's a great wrestler, world class, one of the best. He's been in a number of no-holds-barred fights. He's coming off a loss, so he's hungry. But hey, he's got to get past me before he takes that next step. I got to get past him before I take that next step. And I want this fight just as much as he does, and I expect it to be a war.
Well, it has been in the past for Jerry Bohlander, making his 4th UFC appearance with a record of 4-1 in the octagon. He'd like to win the middleweight championship and have a shot at the heavyweight belt. From the Lions Den the last 4 years, 23-year-old Jerry Bohlander.
Coming out of the Lions Den, you got to know this man has faced some tough hombres in the room. He's done well in UFC competition. Lost only to Gary Goodrich and Harel Bustamante. And that was his last fight. He got knocked out by Bustamante by a kick while Bustamante was on his back. So big mistake for him there, but I'm sure he's looking the same way Jackson is to come back strong. He is a leg submission specialist, proven UFC veteran. Concentration and focus, we wondered if that was going to be a problem, because now he really is running the Lions Den. Shamrock, Kenny in the WWF, Frank doing his own thing with the Alliance.
Now, Bohlander said, Kevin thinks I'm the same type of fighter as Frank Shamrock. He's mistaken. Here's more with Kevin Jackson.
It's very important. I mean, I think my career rests on this fight right now. It was very a humbling experience what happened in Japan, and you know, it was the quickest I've ever been beaten in anything. So it definitely motivated me to get better and to come back to the next show and perform well. I think it kind of was a rookie mistake. I mean, I didn't put enough time in as far as working on certain positions, and I think it caught up to me. And you know, those things happen.
Well, it happened quickly for Kevin Jackson, the 1992 Olympic gold medalist in Barcelona. Kevin Jackson, who now fights out of Gilbert, Arizona. Born in Highland Falls, New York. His hometown is Lansing, Michigan. The best freestyle wrestler in the world in his weight class.
Certainly winning the championship there. Les Gutches of the United States kept him off the world team this year, but he's fresh off that trip to Iran, won the Tak-T gold medal. Iran, a great wrestling nation, and really sort of like ping pong did in '72 with ping pong diplomacy. This was wrestling diplomacy in Iran, reintroducing cultures that have been at odds with one another through sport.
Redemption and revenge on the mind of Kevin Jackson. Here's the tail of the tape for our middleweight super fight between Jerry Bohlander and Kevin Jackson. 9 years different in the age, and the weight and height are almost exactly the same. Bohlander did say he has very strong wrestling skills, stronger than maybe Frank Shamrock's. To the octagon in the voice, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our middleweight super fight. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He is a submission fighter with a mixed martial arts record of 4-1. He is a UFC 8 semifinalist and UFC 12 tournament champion. Standing 5 feet, 11 inches tall, and weighing in at 199 pounds. He's fighting out of the Lion's Den in Lockford, California. Introducing Jerry Bohlander. And his opponent, standing to my right, a freestyle wrestling champion, a 3-time national champion, a 3-time World Cup champion, and the 1992 Olympic gold medalist. He is also a veteran of UFC 14 and Ultimate Japan. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall. He weighs in at 199 pounds, fighting out of Gilbert, Arizona. Please welcome Kevin Jackson. And when the action begins, our referee is Big John McCarthy.
Well, Bohlander said he's interested to find out the effect of the loss to Frank. Will Kevin Jackson be tentative and want to box for a while? We will soon find out. Bohlander says he's been a fan of Jackson's for a long time. He remembers when he won the gold medal. But Terry Norris was a big fan of Sugar Ray's.
Here we go.
And he beat him. And here we go with Big John McCarthy.
Let's get it on!
Working his 18th UFC. The middleweight super fight is underway.
Well, Jackson said something very interesting. He said when he leads with his left foot, he's going to be boxing. He'll throw strikes. When he switches off and leads with his right foot, he's looking to shoot. Certainly he must have practiced a lot of submission to try to see the recognition skills necessary to know when he's in danger and how to prevent that from happening. Bohlander, master of submission out of the Lion's Den, submission wrestling, their key. They obviously train with striking as well.
Good, keep working.
Bohlander just 23 years old. And Jackson, his confidence is always with him. But I think he got a big kick in confidence as he takes the matchup to the ground. He got a kick of confidence with the victory in Iran.
Certainly that must have helped him in his wrestling view, but also any kind of victory like that will bolster anyone's confidence to go ahead and improve.
Doing good.
But as he said, the loss teaches you more than the win. In losing, you do that soul searching. You find a way. Looked as though Jackson caught him with a good punch there before finally taking him down.
Jackson in the card and Jerry Bohlander. As you mentioned, Bohlander, the
the lead fighter from the Lion's Den now running the day-to-day operations. But he was quick to point out he's not the pinnacle.
He's trying to bring that arm around and get Jackson's head. Jackson keeping his head out front, ducking that leg, not letting it happen. But there you saw Bohlander go right away for the arm.
That arm has been locked before. Jackson wants to avoid it here tonight.
And again, for those who don't know, and it took me a while, when those legs come up like Bohlander's doing now, that's when you're in danger. He's trying to wrap around the head because he's got one of the arms hooked up.
Working.
Jackson.
There it is. Oh.
Worked through it, but for how long? Jackson spins.
Bohlander had him. Jackson did a great job to get out of there.
He had that arm extended.
Watch for a knee. Watch for a knee.
Looking good, gentlemen.
But Bohlander doesn't want to be here. This is Jackson's forte. He's got him caught in a sprawl underneath. He can go ahead and pound away here. Elbows to the back. As long as he keeps that head buried in the middle, he's not going to get taken down.
Would you say this is wrestler's territory now?
This right here is pure
Let's work it
wrestling.
out, gentlemen. Let's go.
This is a classic wrestling position of a guy, and yeah, Jackson can do that. Bohlander is not in good position, but boy, that's good power for Bohlander to get to his feet.
And they're up to their feet. Jackson avoided a near result, which was his same fate in Ultimate Japan.
And the athletes at the Lions Den know their submissions. Bohlander going right into, basically, is a half backward roll, going right up on the neck and the back of his head, bringing his legs straight up, looking to try to hook Jackson's head and really sink that submission lock.
Jackson has trained for the last year and a couple of months in martial arts extensively. Took a break from it to concentrate on the wrestling tournament. But he comes in excellent condition after fighting, as we mentioned, in Iran and winning the gold medal.
And he was on international news both in Europe and again over here, national news for the United States team, wrestling team, being the first ever to go to Iran in over 20 years.
Come on, it's work.
Well, they seem to want to stay separated here. They're not coming inside to engage. And again, Jackson catches him. There's the knee, but you see Bohlander covering his head. He's not going to let Jackson do it.
Work it through.
Bohlander was excellent in UFC 12 in Alabama 13 months ago when he won the tournament there.
Took his back.
Now Jackson with the right arm. Trying to tuck it under.
He's looking for the leg now. Bohlander wanted to go to the leg, but
good job,
Jackson did a nice job spinning out of it.
Bohlander knew that Jackson would come in here very hungry tonight.
And you got to wonder, what did Jackson think when all of a sudden that arm was trapped and Bohlander was looking to try to submit him? Jackson able to power his way out. Oh, Jackson able to get a couple good punches.
Oh, there's another shot. Bohlander saw Ken Shamrock in the UFC and was transfixed. Got introduced to Ken's school by Bob Shamrock, signed up for a self-defense course, and then through the years has evolved into the leader of the Lion's Den with great respect for both the skills of Ken and Frank Shamrock.
Jackson doing a nice job of binding the arms of Bohlander and getting in a good shot before Bohlander, right there again.
Jackson is always sporting the red, white, and blue trunks.
Watch the fingers in the eyes. Let's go.
Big John McCarthy, Camarillo, California. Police officer with the Los Angeles Police Department.
Look like Jackson's trying to pass the guard here. Go to the mount.
Come on, let's go. Let's do something. Let's get busy.
This is our middleweight super fight.
Let's get busy.
Jackson's trying to work on the left arm of Bohlander.
And it's easier to strike in the half guard than it is the full guard. When you get a shot of the legs, you'll see that Bohlander has one of Jackson's legs right there in between it and locked up. Half guard. Jackson really can't move from there, but the position's good for Jackson to strike, but McCarthy says not enough action. They're brought back to their feet.
Over your corner, turn around, face me.
Past the midway point. Here in our middleweight super fight, 12 minutes
Face me, let's go.
with a 3-minute overtime.
Are you ready? Let's get it on, come on.
And they resume again, and Bohlander now trying to come up and catch Jackson. Jackson's got him in a headlock.
Watch the eyes, get your fingers out of the eyes.
Bohlander trying to spin and roll up with the knees. As Jackson now trying to work one of the arms of Bohlander. There's always been a question with Kevin Jackson. Does he have enough submission holds?
That's the question of any wrestler. Did you learn enough submission to finish an opponent when you get the opportunity? Jackson able to get to a full headlock here out to the side. Bohlander now is doing what you need to do. Tie up his hips, and from here milk the position to come on top. Jackson needs to free his hips. He doesn't want Bohlander to take his back.
Trying to work the left arm to free the hips.
And they're back to guard. We'll see if Bohlander now is going to go ahead and look for Jackson's arm again.
Well, Jackson fought through a potential armbar earlier, and now Bohlander fights through an adverse situation.
Here he cuts for the arm again. He's got it. Jackson needs to do it there. He's able to pull out. But Bohlander doing a nice job of threatening.
Good work, good work.
And again, Jackson in a position here to go ahead and possibly get a strike or two. He's got side mount. Bohlander crosses his legs like that so he can't attain full mount. And again, he works to half guard. This is where Jackson's wrestling prowess really helps him. He knows how to control a person below him and keep him there. Bohlander desperately wanting to move, create action, and through that action and flurry, find an opportunity for submission. Jackson is preventing him from doing that.
Under 3 minutes now remaining in our 12-minute regulation time period. Middleweight super fight. 3rd UFC for Kevin Jackson. 4th UFC appearance for Jerry Bohlander.
Both the athletes now got to be feeling a little bit of exhaustion. We're starting to approach the 10-minute mark.
Now Jackson truly in the longest battle in the octagon of his career. He lost in 22 seconds to Shamrock, defeated Todd Butler in 128 with a double leg takedown and strikes thereafter, and beat Anthony Fricklin, both with these in UFC 14 in the middleweight division with a chokehold at 45 seconds. But he has great conditioning, we know that.
Oh, punch by Jackson. Bohlander having opened his mouth to get enough air here. They're both sucking wind now. And again, he's got him. He's got him.
And Jackson.
Jerry Bohlander able to capture Jackson's arm.
And Jackson did not want to tap, Jeff. And John McCarthy said over and over, I can't let your arm break. Again, great refereeing in the octagon by John McCarthy, knowing the ultimate safety is the most important thing. Jackson did not want to tap, and McCarthy knew that the arm was in a very dangerous position.
Anyone knows submission, when that arm gets extended like that, you got the legs and 2 arms on that one arm. It is very, very dangerous that if you don't tap, it is going to go. Bohlander, patient in the guard, maybe sensing Jackson got fatigued. You see Jackson putting his head down there, maybe breathing a little bit too hard. Bohlander sensed that that might be an opportunity and immediately goes into that backward roll, traps the arm, and right there he's caught. Right there he's caught. John McCarthy making the call. Through this, now this is halfway through it, and right there you clearly see it. 2 legs, 2 arms against 1 arm. That's a no-win situation. Bohlander, displaying tremendous submission skill, defeats Kevin Jackson.
You know, the interesting thing is how close we were to the end of regulation time, as both fighters, as you mentioned, greatly fatigued. And we were close to the end of the 12 minutes to work it into the overtime period when Bohlander gets the victory over Kevin Jackson. A proud night for the Lion's Den. Chris Brennan, nonetheless, because of the injury to the Lion's Den fighter, and Mikey Burnett will be in our televised lightweight final against Pat Miletich. And Chris Brennan is undoubtedly excited to be here in the UFC. 26 years old and was victorious earlier tonight in his alternate matchup against Courtney Turner, a luta libre specialist. Chris Brennan, when we talked to him yesterday, said, you know what? I hope I'll get a chance to fight on TV. You know what? He's going to get a chance to fight on TV.
Well, these two have met before. They went 30 minutes to a judge's decision, and Miletich was declared the winner. They will meet again now in the octagon.
Absolutely. Chris Brennan, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a bit of boxing. 70% grappler, 30% striker, he said, is his ideal ratio of his power. And of course, with the BJJ background, a submission expert.
Well, he is a submission expert. He does like to strike. He mixes those two according to his opponent. Excellent training in submission. He looked good in his alternate bout. He's going to need to look good here against Pat Miletich.
Chris Brennan's earlier match lasted only 1 minute and 20 seconds, so fatigue not a factor with Chris Brennan, as it could be with Pat Miletich, who went the time distance 15 minutes in his split decision victory over Townsend Saunders. Muay Thai, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The 30-year-old from Benton, York, Iowa, owns his own martial arts store in that small city and feels at home. And now what will be his 22nd fight in a cage. But this is the ultimate of them all, the Super Bowl, and the first ever lightweight tournament. He is now, with tonight's victory, 19-1-1 in mixed martial arts competition.
And Mike, in this format of a tournament, Pat Miletich fought second of the 2 lightweight brackets, so he has not had a lot of time to really recuperate. Brennan fought in the alternate fight, so he's had plenty of time to come back, so conditioning might be something that Pat Miletich has to be worried about.
Tail of the tape for our lightweight tournament championship. Chris Brennan is in as an alternate. He's 26 years old and 2 inches smaller than Pat Miletich. The weight in the lightweights is obviously not a factor. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is my foundation. I can defend, says Chris Brennan. He placed an armbar on his opponent in the alternate matchup at 1 minute and 20 seconds. The voice of the Octagon, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next fight will determine the winner of the UFC 16 lightweight tournament. Due to a broken finger, Mike Burnett will not be able to continue. So we will begin with the fighter standing to my left. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert with a mixed martial arts record of 4-1-1 and an amateur boxing record of 6-0. He stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing 168 pounds. He hails from from Mission Viejo, California, please welcome Chris Brennan. Winning his first bout in overtime and by the judge's decision, this fighter standing to my right is a Muay Thai boxer and Jiu-Jitsu expert with a mixed martial arts record of 18-1-1. He is a former Midwest Muay Thai champion, standing 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighing 170 pounds. Coming to us from Bettendorf, Iowa, please welcome Pat Miletich.
And Big John McCarthy will work the fight again, a constant in the UFC since UFC 2, officiating over 100 no-holds-barred fights, a tactical instructor with the LA Police Department.
Goes for the lightweight championship. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Here we go. Lightweight tournament championship. If you're Brennan, do you want to make this a long match and work on Pat Miletich's potential breakdown of conditioning?
Well, certainly, I mean, you want to feel as though you may have an edge in shape, and the fact that Miletich had that long fight is evidence that he spent more energy, and it was very recent. It was just before the Jackson Bohlander, so he hasn't had a whole lot of time to recuperate. But these two have met twice. They had a draw in August of last year, and then Miletich won a judge's decision after 30 minutes in November. So this is going to be probably a close fight. Is the third time the charm for Brennan?
You know, we should also note that Brennan's alternate matchup took place at about 7:15 local time. He has had a lot of rest. But then again, mentally, you're sitting back there, you don't know if you're fighting again. He found out he was fighting again when Mikey Burnett got hurt.
Well, he's in the finals now. That's got to be a shot of adrenaline coming from being an alternate to being in the finals now. It's a dream come true. Brennan, a quality opponent. Brennan with the takedown.
And Miletich has Brennan in his guard.
Open guard by Pat Miletich. Brennan looking to try to pass it. Half guard now.
Both of these competitors understand submissions. No question about that.
Come on.
Pat Miletich admits that he got in a lot of street fights as a kid, came from a split family, but he fights in the streets no more. He is a trained professional.
Let's do something down there.
And one of the finest mixed martial artists in the world. And that is why he has brought his fight game into the ultimate proving ground, the octagon.
Looked as though Miletich was trying to set up some kind of a role reversal there, but Brennan able to counter out. Knee to the head by Brennan. Guillotine by Brennan. Miletich trying desperately to get an arm inside the locked hands of Chris Brennan, but Brennan maintaining position. Miletich able to fight his way out.
Good work, good work.
Chris Brennan, the first American to represent Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil. He said he was sleeping in the dojo, sleeping on the mat. Jacques Adair trained him, now has a dojo in Atlanta. In his first fight, he agreed to it. Next day, there were posters all over the street. No looking back. He said, man, what have I got myself into? He won. And he's been spending a lot of time on the mat in the meantime. He's opening a school in Mission Viejo. The next generation will be called of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters.
Brennan also said he likes the mount as opposed to the guard, and he finds himself in the guard.
3 years under Royce Gracie, now trains his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Roger Brooking.
That one matchup you talked about, pardon me, Jeff, was outdoors. And I remember Brennan talking about the fact he wanted to box, but he didn't feel confident with his footing there.
Because it was raining outside. It was an outside mat. Didn't like it, so he decided to play the ground game. Had an opportunity to box here. Miletich rushed him, able to get the takedown. Now it's Miletich's turn. On top, he is in Brennan's guard.
Both of these fighters with one loss and one draw in their mixed martial arts careers. 5 victories for Brennan, including tonight 19 victories, including tonight for Pat Miletich.
One thing Pat Miletich did say, he said if he ever goes for an ankle or leg lock, it's out of desperation. So look for him probably here to use ground and pounds as the means to finish. Brennan, on the other hand, might want to look towards Miletich's legs. Try to get him into a flurry where they're both looking at ankle and leg locks.
Brennan's trying to lock the legs. Now he has. Trying to use the closed guard.
That's correct. It's a matter of feel, what the man on top is doing, whether you do that or not.
An advantage to one or the other?
Depends on what you're trying to do. Basically, when you close it, you're limiting the action. You're trying to keep him close and not allow him to move. And a lot of times people will close him to force the man to try to break that lock. And while he's breaking the lock of the feet, they're moving to try and look for submission.
Miletich has delivered some of those rabbit punches, if you will, to the left cheekbone of Chris Brennan.
This is where he wants to work. This is probably where the fight looks like it may stay a while. It all depends on whether or not Brennan decides to become very active.
Well, for the martial artists, this is the top of the mountain. And certainly for the lightweights, the mountain has been built. And these two guys are trying to climb above each other to see who will be the lightweight tournament champion. Debuting here in UFC 16. From New Orleans, Mike Goldberg, Jeff Platnick. We are happy to be along with Joe Rogan and our fine crew here in New Orleans tonight. Hope you are enjoying the great combatants who participate in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Brennan did a real nice thing. He was being driven head first into the fence. He reached out with his hand, turned himself, used his foot to fully do a 180 and point back towards the center. Very good savvy in terms of octagon awareness.
Mark Hansen is in the corner of Pat Miletich. You can see Mark Hansen right there. Hansen was the best man in Miletich's wedding. And a nose guard across the line in high school football. Now they are the best of friends. And Hansen,
and they've been spending a lot of time lately, 3 times within 6 months, inside the octagon.
There you go. Come on up and whack him. Short elbows.
Pat Miletich's hero growing up was that famous Pittsburgh Steeler linebacker, Jack Lambert. He said Lambert was the man.
And those fans of Pittsburgh Steelers, particularly of their linebackers, certainly Lambert set the standard for several years, both with his smart play, but also his physical tenacity and intimidation.
Now Miletich has those same qualities in his fighting skills.
And again, you see Brennan measuring where the fence is. Miletich trying to drive him into it.
7.5 minutes now into this one. After the 15-minute matchup not long ago for Miletich, he looks okay though. Conditioning doesn't seem to be a factor.
At this point, no. I don't think Miletich, particularly where he is now, he's setting the pace, so he wouldn't be burning himself out unless he felt he had the energy to continue. And he seems very content here to just work the strike game from within the guard of Brennan. He's not trying to pass the guard. He's just trying to hit with the right hand.
Aggressiveness, striking, and grappling, the criteria the judges use in rendering decisions. They have used those criteria once tonight and gave the decision to Miletich against Townsend Saunders.
Half guard now. This is a better position to strike from.
Slow down, slow down. Slow down. You're in good shape. You're in good shape. Keep your position.
You can hear Hansen.
Slow down. Stabilize. You're all right. Working it from there. Come on. Pressure up top. Pressure up top. He's feeling that. He's feeling that. He's feeling that.
He's looking to go to full mount there. He started to step for it.
Working it. Come on. Let's work it out. Let's work it out. Let's get that mount. Come on. Post.
Miletich in the matchup against Chris Brennan. That went the distance.
Must have tapped. He must have tapped.
Able to wear Brennan down. And tonight, Pat Miletich is going to be our lightweight tournament champion.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's on purpose. It's not on purpose. Come here, baby.
As Big John McCarthy steps in, and Pat Miletich, victorious in the lightweight tournament, the 1996 Midwest Muay Thai champion. Here's the official decision from Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner of the UFC 16 lightweight tournament, Mr.
It was by tap out.
Miletich.
It was by tap out. We couldn't really see where we were exactly what the hold was. Miletich was pushed into the fence. And right there, he calls for the, you can see him tapping on Miletich's back, but really difficult to see. He might have had the shoulder across the throat there. Could have had the shoulder across the throat, and there was enough of a hold to get a choke. Enough of a hold to get a choke. Hands weren't locked. It was just strictly the crook of the elbow driving into the chin and the throat caused him to tap. He was punching with his free arm.
Still ahead here in Battle in the Bayou. It is our featured matchup of the evening for the middleweight championship of the UFC. Frank Shamrock and Igor Zinoviev, who just a month ago were watching TV together in New York. That was fun. Tonight is all business.
Me and Igor are friends, acquaintances. I think he's a good guy. I admire his fighting, but gonna kick his butt.
You have arrived when you are known by only one name. Short fights outside the octagon, and very few opponents who fight Kimo leave the match unscathed. Tsuyoshi Kohsana will be his opponent here in our heavyweight super fight, and Kohsana for the last 3 weeks has been training with a former heavyweight champion in his own right in Maurice Smith.
He has traveled to Seattle, and what's interesting about these two, he's training with Maurice Smith. He wants to improve upon his striking. He is a submission specialist, but again, individuality and such determines how well you do here, and you want to improve all your skills to become well-rounded. So he's gone to one of the best strikers in the UFC, and that's Maurice Smith. But interestingly, Maurice Smith learned his guard, which was so important and effective against Mark Coleman from Kohsana.
They call it the TK guard, and now I guess Kohsana is somewhat part of the alliance with Shamrock and Maurice Smith, the best kickboxer in the world. Here's Smith on TK. Tsuyoshi Kohsana.
Submission is his biggest point, and his positioning and his guard. He's not a striker, but he's learning to strike. Whereas Kimo's a striker more than he's a grappler. But TK has a lot more maneuverability and position than Kimo. Kimo only chance is either one to get him, knock him out real quick, or two, cut him. And other than that, TK will win long term.
Kimo has great heart. That's what Kohsana said. And you know what? Kimo said Kohsana has great heart. There he is, Tsuyoshi Kohsana. 4th degree black belt in traditional judo, submission fighting in judo, 12 years of judo training. From Shiga, Japan, his hometown is Yokohama. And you see the former champion Maurice Smith working in his corner.
All the way across. All the way across.
He's a preferred ground specialist. He likes to work submissions down there. Excellent at leg submissions. And because of his experience, he probably will not panic despite a much larger man being on top of him. And something to remember, Shamrock knee barred Kimo to victory. In a previous UFC, look for Kohsana to learn a lesson from that, probably go for that.
Kimo will return to the octagon for the first time since December of 1996. In UFC 3, he became instant UFC legend.
My experience in the octagon, you know, it helps a lot. It helps me to deal with certain situations, whereas before I wouldn't know how to react or how to set an opponent up. Now I can, certain situations, actually react and kind of feel your opponent, feel where he's going or where I anticipate his move to follow up with a finishing hold or strike. I do whatever it takes to win.
He is a very intimidating looking man. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Kimo's choice of preference, but he's experienced in freestyle fighting, Taekwondo, Muay Thai, BJJ, and wrestling. Hails in Huntington Beach, California. He was born in Munich, Germany. There is the man known only as Kimo.
Kimo, great athlete. Probably his greatest asset is his power. Likes to use his hands. He'll be a striker. Obviously, with claiming Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as your discipline, he has been practicing with submission, and rumor has it he's got a very good guard now. So perhaps he's picked up some great finishing holds as well.
Here is the tail of the tape for the heavyweight super fight between Tsuyoshi Kohsana and Kimo. 29 and 28 respectively. Size is not a factor here in our tail of the tape, and we are happy here octagon side to be joined by David Tank Abbott, who will act as a guest commentator here in our heavyweight super fight. First of all, Tank, have you been impressed with what you have seen so far here tonight?
Absolutely. You know, these guys, they're small, so they have to know what to do. They have to have technique, and you can see them, you know, Chihuahuas fighting. They have to know what to do to take somebody out. They don't got the power to really clamp down and hurt somebody, if you know what I mean. Like a pit bull or something like that.
Like a pit bull, which we have seen David Tank Abbott be in the past, Jeff.
Well, normally a pit bull is the smaller animal, not the larger one. But it's interesting, Tank. You got to admit, fast action, high expertise, and certainly great skill level.
Absolutely. I will admit to that.
Tank will look forward to your comments throughout this heavyweight super fight. For the introductions officially to the veteran voice of the octagon, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin our UFC 16 heavyweight super fight. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He is a submission fighter and a judo expert with a mixed martial arts record of 25-2-3. He comes to us from Yokohama, Japan, standing 6 feet, 1 inch tall, and weighing 230 pounds. Introducing Tsuyoshi Kohsana. And his opponent standing to my right. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter and a veteran of UFC 3 and Ultimate 96. Standing 6 feet, 1 inch tall, weighing in at 250 pounds. He is originally from Hawaii and fighting out of Huntington Beach, California. He is the Hawaiian fighting legend. Introducing Kimo.
The heavyweight super fight between Kohsana and Kimo. What do you expect, Tank?
Holy smokes, I don't know. Hopefully I expect a fight. I just want to see somebody get beat on, that's all.
Well, interesting. One thing about Kimo, the tournament champion from Ultimate Japan was Sakuraba. Kimo wants a victory over Sakuraba.
They both
Ooh, nice shot. Takedown into the guard. Submission right there.
Kimo's up.
Looks like he's trying to clear the guard. He's got a quarter guard on now. Nice hands.
Is Kimo going to be striking here, Tank, the whole time?
Oh, here comes the leg lock. Here comes a leg lock. I don't think that's a slow. He's got it deep. That's deep. He needs to come up and step on that foot. He's getting it out. He's getting it out. Keep twirling. He's calm.
Patience a key in a situation like this, Tank?
Well, absolutely. The Japanese are really relaxed right there. They know about submission, but Kimo's got that ankle lock nice and deep.
Work it out.
Interesting.
There you go. Now he's putting some weight on it now.
Kimo really doing a great job here.
I will agree with
looking for submission.
He's got to keep turning. He's going to run out of room. He let go of it there.
Way to work.
Kimo's got to use his power in this fight.
Power he's got.
Yeah.
And back down to the ground it goes. Kimo caught in the half guard. Kohsana also said he intends to put him away with a submission technique.
Well, that's Kohsaka's game. Kohsana will play the patient role and go ahead and look for submission. What was interesting is Kimo had a pretty deep lock there, but
yeah, and he couldn't capitalize on it.
And Kohsana never even looked phased. He just kept rolling, moving, and was able to get out of it.
Nice, calm look on his face. Interesting that he couldn't finish that because he had it deep.
Kimo's father in the military, born and raised in Hawaii, met his mother in Germany, and Kimo grew up in Waikiki. Now he lives taking your neck of the woods, Huntington Beach.
So he says.
Well, Kohsaka's no stranger to leg locks. They're very common in the organization he competed so much and made a name for himself in, and that is rings in Japan.
Now, Kimo was the first to ever battle Royce Gracie in the fashion that he did. And Kimo came away, in some's estimation, fresh and unharmed in his first appearance back in 1994 in UFC 3.
Well, you could say that, but, you know, Royce Gracie came back for the next fight and ended up throwing the towel in. So, you know, what can you say?
Work it out, work it out.
Kimo's only losses, though, are to two big veterans of the UFC, and that is Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock.
Yes.
Maurice Smith in the corner of Tsuyoshi Kohsana.
Yes.
And the TK guard.
Come on.
And you have been in the octagon with Maurice Smith, Tank. And there's a possibility the winner of this fight could meet you in May in Mobile, Alabama.
Holy smokes.
First word you've gotten of that, I would have guessed.
Oh, I don't care. Anybody wants to, oh, look at this. We got a leg lock brewing.
Kohsana had the lights go on for a second there, but Kimo able to scramble around, clear his foot.
Yeah, they're very patient, but that's not my style. You're going to fight.
Well, you were in a similar position against Anjo in Ultimate Japan. You were in the guard, on top. What does Kimo need to do here?
Kimo needs to clear the guard and rain some punches down. You know, like I said, they're very patient, and as we all saw, Anjo took a beating.
Keep it working, come on.
Kept on ticking, but here he goes.
That's kind of the trait of the Japanese fighters, though, isn't it, Tank? And I know that you said afterwards, when you defeated Anjo in Ultimate Japan, you had the greatest respect for his heart.
Yes, he did have heart. Here we go. Look at this. They're really good at submission and heart.
Well, Maurice had said that Kohsana needed to take more chances against Erickson in this contenders fight.
I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at this and I'm getting excited. I love fighting. I love it.
He may have to take some more chances here against Kimo. Put himself at risk to find an opportunity.
Kimo has his own webpage now, www.kimomama.com. Could we see a Tank webpage someday in the future?
I think there are a few, but none that I have anything to do with.
No official David Abbott Tank pages, right?
I don't have time to play on the computer.
Oh, a big shot with the left by Kimo.
Oh, yeah. Looks like he's cleared the guard a bit.
Still got one of his legs trapped in there.
Yeah, but he's way high up on that.
Yes, he
can
is.
Get up there and start raining some bombs down on his head.
Oh,
from the
right
guard.
hand.
Kohsana delivers a shot.
And he's down.
He also caught it on the way down, and so there was that added impact because Kimo was on his way down.
12-minute regulation time, 3-minute overtime here in our heavyweight super fight.
I'd like to get up there in that position and rain some punches down on him, you know. Maybe he's taking a break, getting some air.
How concerned are you, Tank, in this situation, raining punches down of a possible armbar or submission technique?
I'm well versed on submission, and
Come on, let's work out.
they have to worry about my 600-pound sledgehammers hitting them in the face.
One would have to say, Anjo actually caught you momentarily in an armbar. You were able to power your way out, but you definitely saw danger.
I don't think he liked my knee in his face.
An effective counter?
Yeah. Thought of that at the moment, too.
Good movement, way to go.
All right, guys, let's see some blows. That's it, take him to the fence and then pound on him. Now he's cleared his guard. Doesn't...
Work your way out, let's work it out.
You better turn, You better turn.
Just missed with his attempted 600-pound blow, as you said. But that's a rainmaker.
I think he's more in the 300-pound.
300, 400-pound range.
That's also the beauty of the guard, the ability to able to unbalance the top man. And Kimo sat up to rain punches, and Kimo arched, sending all that weight forward. Kimo's got to put his hands down to catch himself. The hands are bracing, they're not punching.
Absolutely. Wow, for an Olympic wrestler, you're pretty versed on that.
Now in a mount position, Kimo. Maurice Smith talking to Kohsana.
Come on, let's work,
Smith
let's
in the purple and white alliance sweatsuit.
There's enough of a lull here.
Yeah.
There's enough of a lull here.
Do you expect a lull from the mount position, Jeff?
No, but there you go.
Yeah.
Kimo's only been at jiu-jitsu a short time. He will get better. He's young and he trains hard. He's got a huge body, very athletic body to work with. Oh!
He's all right. Here comes the leg lock.
Kimo trying to work through it. He does. We're back up to our feet. 8 minutes and 15 seconds in to the heavyweight super fight.
It's a good little scrap here.
This is Kimo. Spent a lot of energy on top. He was in motion.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, he got
his
hit.
bell. He knows.
Gave him the nod, like, nice shot.
Yeah. Rung his bell a little bit.
You got to wonder if Kimo's tired. He spent a lot of energy there.
He's breathing hard.
Yeah, the shoulders are coming up and down.
Also, look at the lead leg. He's not very steady on his feet. See, he's off balance.
And we have a lot of time left in regulation. Over 3 minutes, now exactly 3.
Yeah. Kimo needs to hit him with a straight right when that foot comes flying out.
Keep working it.
Tank, when you're trying to catch your wind like that, what goes through your mind?
I don't think about it, man. When I'm in there, I'm after your ass. That's it. I don't think about air.
No lack of concentration then from fatigue?
No, absolutely not.
Jeez, Kohsana doing a nice job here. Striking Kimo.
Trying to hammer on the left side.
At the same token, Kimo's getting his air back, and that's not.
That's a heavy price to pay to just breathe.
Yeah.
Kimo has over 2 minutes to work to a 1-minute rest period, though, and Kohsana looks very, very fresh.
Kimo definitely looks off here.
Yeah, but he's
back
getting his
is
air.
very straight.
He is getting his air, though. You can see his life coming back to him. Here he comes.
The born-again Christian Kimo.
Kohsana is used to long fights in rings, averaging 30 minutes.
95
There goes the second counter punch. He needs to rock. Let's go. There you go. Get it on. Get it on.
Are you rooting for Kimo?
No, I'm rooting for a good fight. I don't care. I want to see a good fight.
Oh, another right. Grazed off the forehead of Kimo. And a knee attempted.
It doesn't look like Kimo wants to go to the ground here.
No, it doesn't.
Kimo could have had a chance to drop down and take the legs out, but he didn't do it.
I'll tell you what, Kohsana's really trying to chop down that left thigh area of Kimo.
Yeah,
he delivered another one. A jab to the left eye of Kimo.
Oh!
Kimo just missed with that right.
How about Kohsana's a southpaw now? Maybe that is stirring up Kimo a little bit.
Be a warrior, baby. Go after it. There you go. Come on.
Oh!
A counter punch to the chin, though, by Kimo.
This is good. Let's go, guys.
45 seconds left in regulation time. They are going toe-to-toe here.
Kimo's arms now look a little weary.
Yeah.
Kimo's arms are looking weary. Great fight. These two are putting it on the line.
Go.
It looks now very much like we'll head to a 3-minute overtime period.
Yes. And Kimo needs to take him to the ground.
There seems to be a mouse on Kimo's left eye.
Yes, he's eating a lot of punches. Maybe this overtime will give him some air.
A lot of right-hand jabs. Sneaking through. Oh, look.
And another one. And regulation time comes to an end.
You got 1 minute. You want to continue?
1 minute.
Great fight. Great fight.
Excellent.
Two very different fights, Tank. About 5 minutes on the ground, about 7 minutes on their feet.
Absolutely, and I think if Kimo's got a chance, he's got to take him to the ground because he didn't fare so well on his feet.
You got to believe that fatigue played a factor there. You have to believe it.
Kohsana's jabs were near deadly.
Conditioning is a big part of it, as I'm very well aware of.
And one thing also, when you watch Kimo get hit, watch what happens after he gets hit. He turns his head a little bit. When you turn your head, you're not looking at your opponent. That's the #1 rule of hands, is see what's coming at you.
Oh, yeah.
And here, an attempted lock by Kohsana going after Kimo's leg. But Kimo and the sweaty body, enough power and slickness to be able to counter out.
Great strikes by Kohsana. So his time with Maurice Smith is obviously paying off. And you saw him also trying to chop down the leg. A very similar technique that Smith has used in the octagon.
And the object of the guard is to let the top man get frustrated and fatigued. And it worked to perfection for Kohsana. He took some shots while he was down on his back, but he came back fast and was able to get some good shots against Kimo on the feet.
Just as you thought,
there you go.
Go right to the ground.
That's his only shot, is if he kicks a takedown.
And that position
another knee.
Another big knee by Kohsana.
Not once, but twice. Kimo could not keep the fight on the ground. He's tried twice. Here he'll try a third time.
He finally gets it. Both these bodies are glistening with sweat. Tremendous energy output.
These guys are going to war.
Who do you have winning, Tank?
I would have to go with the Japanese fighter at this point in time.
Pardon me, not the guard. It is a mount position for Kimo. But still, Kohsana getting some drives in and looking calm, Tank.
Yeah. He's out here with the arm lock. He ain't going to get it on him.
Wow,
this is trouble right here. Yeah. Things do not look well.
Kohsana said Kimo has great heart. He's demonstrating that right here.
Let me tell you something. Anybody that steps in the octagon have got big balls and big heart.
Tank, that's classic Tank.
That's the way it is. You can sit at home and sit on your couch and drink a beer and talk about kicking ass. Get in the cage and do it.
Tsuyoshi Kohsana. A magnificent performance against Kimo.
Yes.
Seems to have the upper hand now. He is the aggressor. He continues to strike.
That's how you got to be when you're in the top position. rain them punches down. Now, Osaka's probably got 200-pound cannons.
That's right. Just 1/3 the size cannon of our guest commentator, David Tank Gavitt. But he's coming in with the right and the left. And Kimo's in trouble again.
Yes, that left hand is getting in almost every time. Notice the combination, right, left from the guard.
As Maurice Smith would have it, Kohsana is striking from everywhere.
30 seconds left. And it looks as though Kohsana is in control of this fight now.
I would have to agree with you about that, Jeff.
Great poise by Kohsana, never panicked.
That's how you fight when you're on top. That's the way it goes. Yeah.
Continues aggressively. And Tsuyoshi Kohsana, clearly the dominant fighter in the overtime period.
That was an excellent fight. I enjoyed that immensely.
Everything you expected, Tank? I also enjoyed it immensely.
Yes, it was excellent.
Two tired warriors. But Kohsana there, anticipating he had the better performance. He deserves to win.
I have to agree with him.
Maurice Smith yelling TK in the background.
It is true, you mentioned it.
I thought Kimo was Hawaii. Why is he saying tiki, like a tiki lamp or what?
Left hand by Kohsana. He stayed active when he was caught in Kimo's guard by raining punches. Had tremendous energy at the end of this fight, and part of that was due to his ability in the guard. He let Kimo wear himself out.
It looks like
he came back strong.
Looks like Kimo's got a little trophy on his eye. A little blood squirting out of it.
It was tough for Kimo to ever get his win back. We saw it in the regulation time.
And really there, he had an opportunity to sit up and strike Kohsana when he was down there that low on his legs, and he was so tired he couldn't really sit up to throw those punches.
The judges have rendered a decision. Let's go into the octagon. Here's Bruce.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the decision of the judges. And we have a unanimous decision for the winner of the UFC 16 Heavyweight Super Fight, Mr. Tsuyoshi Kohsana! Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big hand for the American opponent, Kimo!
Kohsana, as we get now set for our middleweight championship. The featured matchup of the night between Frank Shamrock and the Russian champion, Igor Zinoviev. It is going to be a wonderful matchup this evening.
I know Frank is a very good submission guys, and he knows everything for kicking and punching, and I expect everything. And I try to do my best.
Igor Zinoviev, Extreme Fighting's undefeated middleweight champion. The final undefeated middleweight champion of Extreme Fighting. Participated in combat fighting in the Russian military. The former captain of the Russian junior judo team at 17 years old. Born in St. Petersburg, Russia, now lives in Brooklyn, New York.
Big right hand, that's his major weapon. He's also very, very good. He's got extensive judo background, so he understands some of the ground game. He needs to avoid the transitional submissions that Frank Shamrock is so capable of, and of course, when he's patient. He says fights are won within a 2-second period in all fights. It's 2 seconds in which the fight is won and lost. That's why he needs to be patient. He needs to pick that moment when he feels he can take out Shamrock.
And he knows how dangerous Frank Shamrock can be.
I've been doing a lot of striking every day, all day long, boxing, kickboxing. That's what I've been mainly focusing on just because I feel so comfortable on the ground. But I'll go anywhere. It doesn't matter to me.
Frank Shamrock, submission wrestler, born in Santa Monica, and he is our first ever middleweight champion
of the UFC. My brother Ken set a good example, but my win proved that I'm the best under 200-pound fighter in the world. And now, it's Igor Zinoviev's turn to find out. Maurice Smith and Frank Shamrock form the alliance.
Well, after his victory over Kevin Jackson in Ultimate Japan, that erased a lot of the doubts people may have had about Frank Shamrock's abilities and what he could do in mixed martial arts competition. You mentioned taking a look at the tailor there. He's a superior submission fighter. He's really been improving on his striking skills, working with the alliance and Maurice Smith. But what got him there is those submissions. And Frank has huge heart, tremendously athletic body.
31 years old, Igor Zinoviev, a judo specialist. They fight for this belt, the middleweight championship belt of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. For the official introductions, here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. This fight is for the UFC Middleweight Championship of the World. Beginning with the challenger standing to my left. He's a judo and sambo expert with a professional kickboxing record of 15-0. He is the Extreme Fighting Middleweight Champion, standing 6 feet and weighing 190 pounds. He comes to us from St. Petersburg, Russia, and fighting out of Brooklyn, New York. Introducing Igor Zinoviev. And standing to my right, he's a submission fighter and former WKC submission champion and king of pancrase. Standing 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighing 192 pounds, he comes to us from Sunnyvale, California. He is the UFC Middleweight Champion of the World, Frank Shamrock.
Big John McCarthy has witnessed the best that the UFC has had to offer over his years.
Here we go.
This could be another one of those
Are you ready?
that goes in the files.
Are you ready? Let's get it on!
The middleweight championship belt is on the line. Zinoviev, a survivor. Shamrock feels he's the best submission wrestler in the world. Oh my!
He's out. He's out cold. He's out cold. He dropped him on his head. He's out cold.
Frank Shamrock defends his title. And they are attending to Zinoviev as Shamrock celebrates. And now checks out the condition of his opponent in a great move of class.
Got any pain in your neck at all, Igor? Any pain in your neck?
Not yet. Don't let it be.
Okay, don't move your neck. Just keep it still.
Keep your neck right there.
Dr. Richard Insterko and his staff do an excellent job. An excellent job of making sure these fighters are safe.
And it was again set up by Igor deciding he was going to bring that right hand to bear. That extension with the power punch invites you to shoot. Shamrock full advantage, and he brought him all the way around. Inverted him, forced him onto his head and shoulder, and it was enough of an impact to stun Zinoviev. And they're taking every precaution now with Igor to protect him and make sure that if he has any kind of neck or shoulder injury, that they're not going to aggravate it.
Here's the entire fight, 24 seconds real time.
Shamrock came out, did what he said he wanted to do, was going ahead and throw a lot of strikes at him. Started off with some nice leg kicks. And it was when Zinoviev decided to strike and move in on Shamrock that Shamrock turned to the grappler. Right here, beautiful double airborne shoulder and head.
How quickly John McCarthy jumped in. A great job by Big John McCarthy.
And Shamrock didn't try to follow up. Shamrock knew that his opponent was hurt and he didn't follow up.
Let's check in the octagon with Bob Byrowitz, the SEG, and Joe Rogan, along with our champion.
We're here with the champion, Frank Shamrock, and Bob Byrowitz to present him with his championship belt.
Frank, this is the start of a long relationship. I think you're going to have more of these than anyone else. Congratulations, champ. Here's your latest.
Thanks a lot, Bob. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank all the fans here in Louisiana inviting me down and supporting me and taking care of me. I've been here for 10 days, and I love the city.
Frank, let's talk about the fight. I know you've been looking forward to this fight for a long time. Did you have any idea it was going to be that easy in your wildest dreams?
I never have any idea. I just train. I train my butt off. I train hard. I come prepared. I got luck and skill tonight. Igor is an awesome competitor. He's a friend of mine. The best man won tonight. He'll be back, and I'm here to stay.
What does the future hold for you right now? What are your thoughts as far as opponents, as far as what you want to do with the UFC?
I'll do anything. I'll fight anyone. You bring them on. I don't care who they are, what they've done. I'm up.
All right. Do you have any thoughts about fighting in the heavyweight division?
Heavyweights, middleweights, it's all right with me. I'm here to fight. I want to thank a couple people, Joe. I want to thank my chiropractor, David Vick. He came out, he adjusted me, got me straight. My big brother, Maurice. Javier Mendez for teaching me how to box. Didn't get to use none of it. And my sweetheart here for backing me up all the way.
Well, congratulations, and I know I speak for the fans here. Awesome performance, and we look forward to a whole lot more in the future from you.
Thanks, Joe.
Congratulations. Back to you guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, Angelina Brown, strength and conditioning, also acts as his manager. And Javier Mendez, the boxing coach, and who he calls his big brother, Maurice Smith.
He is
the Alliance.
He is a confident man. He is doing nothing but get better with skill. In 2 title fights, to win it and to defend it, he hasn't gone more than 25 seconds. Absolutely. This was a great card put together by John Peretti. Again, grappling skills really seem to set the pace here. We're educating the American public as to what real ground skill is all about in terms of self-defense and how effective it truly is. And there's one man right there, Jerry Bohlander, who used it on Olympic champion Kevin Jackson. Great fight by Bohlander. He had to wait a long time to finally catch Jackson.
Jackson did not want to tap, but Bohlander is victorious. And he is, as we mentioned, the leader of the Lions Den, those great fighters that come out of Lockford, California. And Pat Miletich, drive, determination on little rest between bouts.
Well, it was kind of fun watching him yesterday. He was cutting weight like a wrestler would. He was definitely bigger than most of them. He came out victorious.
And so did Kohsana, TK, as Maurice Smith calls him with great admiration.
I think a lot of people thought Kimo was going to walk through Kohsana, but Kohsana, using the guard and in true guard fashion, wore out the top man, eventually turning the tables, getting to his feet, connecting with strikes, and finishing in a flurry from Kimo's guard.
They say seeing is believing. And to see this is to believe the power, strength, and skill of Frank Shamrock.
Shamrock says never quit, but his true motto is follow your dreams. And that is what he has done, and he has found newborn independence as the middleweight champion of the UFC. Superb athletic performance.
A great night here at UFC 16. Thanks for joining us in New Orleans.